Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
My name is Jeff.
And for the second time, Jeff,
what?
I have a question. How are you doing today?
Doing better now that I'm recording properly. Thank you.
We just had a technical difficulty and had to start over.
You caught it at the beginning, though, so it's perfectly fine.
Yes. There was one time, a long time ago, we caught like 20 minutes into an episode. We noticed that something was my computer was recording from like my webcam microphone instead of our condenser microphones.
Right, yeah. Something that looked a little off on the wavelength or something.
Yeah. So how you doing?
Not too bad. Been just, working and stuff. I know you're back to work, so that's exciting, I guess.
Oh yeah, real exciting.
Not much. I mean, there's obviously a lot going on, and I desperately want to speak on it, but I don't have the words for it. So
Sure.
Yeah. We were just kind of taking it one day at a time. So
sure. That's all you can do, really.
Right. Yeah. So how about yourself? How's it going? Is work treating you okay?
Yeah. I mean, it's work. It's the same as always. It's a lot hotter and stuffier because we're, it's summer and we have to wear face masks. Which is, I'm not complaining about the face mask. I'm just complaining about the heat. Speaking of face masks, though, one thing I actually meant to tell you about last week, but I forgot to. I have been profiting actually quite a bit from this.
What?
Because I have a 3D printer. There's a thing that a lot of people have been 3D printing and then distributing or whatever. And they're like these little. I'm actually going to text this to you right now. I'm going to text a picture to you. I don't know if you are at all familiar with these, but basically it's kind of like a little plastic band with some hooks on it that you can use to hook onto the straps of a face mask so that they don't rest on your ears.
Yeah, okay.
Because at my workplace, we have to wear them for 10 hours a day. So if they're on your ears for 10 hours a day, it's gonna be real uncomfortable. So
yeah, it sucks.
So I printed out, when we first went back to work, I printed out like 20 of these things, lots of different versions of these exist on the internet just for free. You can download the files to make them. And I printed out a bunch, and my intention was just I was just going to give them out to my friends, give them out to my team members. And so I got to work. I was all excited. I had them in like individual plastic bags to make sure that, I had washed my hands before I put them in the bags and then, everything, whatever. Nobody wanted them. Like my team members, the ones that some of them didn't take them at all. Other ones, they would take them and then not use them.
Right.
And I gave them out to a couple people. And then later that day, somebody I'd given one to, they were like, hey, someone over by me wants to pay you for some. And I was like, oh, sure. I don't know. Give me $1 for one of them. And so then, I gave them one for $1. And then later that same person came back and they were like, hey, somebody wanted 2 of them. I told them they were 2 for $5. And I was like, oh, cool. So they gave me $5 and then I gave them a little cut to say, thank you for that. And then at lunch, one of my coworkers, actually one of our listeners, Stiltskin Kupo 84, he offered to sell them for me because I still had, a handful of them left. And he goes around our workplace quite a bit. So he sees a lot more people than me. And so he started selling them and I kept making them. And Jeff, we've made, I alone have made like almost $400 on these.
Holy crap.
I mean, we've sold in the high 300s of these, and they keep selling like hotcakes. They will sell. I'll show up to work with like 40 of them that I printed because time is the most limiting factor. I'll print like 40 overnight, and then the next day they'll be gone in like an hour.
Yeah.
It's freaking ridiculous. So yeah, it's just like they cost very little for me to make. They cost like maybe 7 cents or something like that. Like, when all is said and done. That being said, I do have to be constantly at the printer, starting a new print, taking the previous ones off, packaging them up.
Right. Yeah. It's not a super long print. So you got to be changing it over constantly.
Exactly. And if I'm trying to print them during the week, I have to be able to sleep after I get home from work. So what I have been doing, I probably shouldn't have, but what I have been doing is I set an alarm to wake myself up like every 3 hours so that I can go and start a new one. It's not as efficient as if I was awake, but I got to get some sleep in, I guess.
Right.
But so yeah, I've been churning them out as fast as I can. Over the weekend, I've printed like 150 of them. So
Nice.
hopefully we'll have a whole bunch to sell tomorrow. But so we've been selling tons of these things. And
cool.
I mean, we're not charging a ton of money, and they're a very useful product. So,
yeah, for sure.
I feel guilty because I'm making money off of something, and I feel like, oh, that can't be allowed. That's got to be wrong.
Right.
So anyway, I've made quite a bit of money off of those so far.
Cool.
I definitely expect there to be some sort of a plateau that we hit.
Right, for
but
sure.
I keep expecting it to happen, and it hasn't yet. So we'll see.
And I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, if you spend $1 on something, especially something small and just like a little piece of plastic, like it's easy to forget it, or like they brought it home and forgot it at home, and it's like, well, it's just $1. I'll buy another one. They're not disposable, but they're definitely like, it's one of those things that is cheap enough, but also useful enough where it's like, I don't mind owning 3 of them.
Sure.
Heck, I'll buy 5 so I can take a few home to my family who are all in their own separate essential jobs or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So. I printed up a bunch for Lisa to take to work when she started back up yesterday. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with that so far. Yep. And one more thing, Jeff.
Yeah.
The other day at work, I really wanted to, I got the urge to listen to our, that Halloween actual play thing that we did last year for the Patreon. That Ghost Ship terrible RPG actual play that we did.
Right, yeah.
And so I went and on my phone, I was able to bring it up on the Patreon. And it was a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed listening to it, so much that I listened to it twice in a row.
Oh, nice.
I think I might sometime soon. I think I might make that episode free, just like available to everybody.
Sure.
And I might post around on stuff, like post a link for that in order to, number one, entertain people because it's fun to listen to, but also use that as a way to try to get people into the Patreon.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, it was, I don't know, it was a lot of fun. And next time we are able to play a game in person, I think I want to do another one of those for this year's October.
Sounds good. Yeah, the terrible RPG.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I like that. We tend to have a lot of fun with those ones.
Yeah. I even listened to the I released the like hour-long thing of us preparing for the game too, like us like coming up with characters and stuff.
Oh, right.
I don't know, it was fun. Like I haven't hung out with you or with Skylar or Peter in a long time, and it was fun. Just, it's like we're all hanging out together even though I'm currently at work.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, you want to go ahead and get into this episode?
Sure.
Okay. I want you to imagine that one day you're looking in your savings. I'll say that you have a savings account that you haven't looked in a long time. And you've always felt like there was a little bit less going into savings than you expected. And you weren't quite sure what to do about that. And this has been going on since you were a kid, because apparently you've had a savings account since you were a kid. Mm-hmm. And so one day you call up your parents and you say, "Parents, what's going on with this?" And then your parents, they realize something and they say, "Oh, Jeff, it's time we tell you. Ever since you were a child, we've actually been putting aside some of your money, just a little bit every paycheck, ? Did you get paychecks when you were a kid? I don't know. Every so often, we've been putting a little bit of money away, and it is probably about time that you are able to access it." And so then this story's getting real bad. They take you to a big cave where they've been putting all of all of your money into.
Oh no.
And they hand you the key to this cave apparently. And you open up the cave and you see a giant pile of gold and rubies. And you realize it is at this point that you realize that your parents are in fact dragons. Which means, Jeff, that all along you have been a dragon.
Oh my goodness. Plot twist here in episode 173.
Exactly. But what that means is that this big pile of gold that you now have, do you know what that is, Jeff?
Oh man, I think I know, but what is it?
That is the dragon's hoard.
And the dragon is me.
I do feel the need to clarify that this did take place in an alternate universe. Whether you actually have always been a dragon all along, whether that is the case or not, that's to be determined at a later date.
Okay, so it's not official whether or not it's canon.
Correct.
So,
it's a Simpsons Halloween episode.
Okay,
it's just an excuse to have a non-canonical episode.
Sure, yeah. Where they throw Bart into a giant blender.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, we should have this whole episode be non-canonical. Anyway, so today's magic item was submitted by Joe S via Discord, and this is a fairly simple item, but I think we can have some fun with it. And this item is the Amulet of Concordance. This is an item that requires attunement, and what it does is pretty simple. It grants the wearer a +1 to all healing spells. So whenever you cast a healing spell, you heal 1 additional hit point.
Cool.
However, there's a little bit more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it says in parentheses, it actually gives +2 to all healing spells. However, 1 point of that is leached away without the player's knowledge.
Ooh.
After the player uses healing spells while wearing the Amulet of Concordance a certain amount of times, which I'll say is up to the DM to determine exactly how many times that is. But once they've done it enough times, the amulet begins to shake uncontrollably, and light begins to shine out of the amulet, and the amulet shatters. Within 10 feet of the caster, a devil or demon is released that is aggressive to the players.
Oh, man.
So that's why I said, like, it's up to the DM. Basically, the number of times that you have to use it is equal to the summoned demon's hit point total.
Right, yeah.
So the idea being that this amulet actually has a demon trapped inside of it. And every time you use a healing spell, you are actually healing that trapped demon until it is strong enough to escape.
That's pretty cool. And that's and that could be something that they give it to them like early on.
Yeah.
And it could be a really powerful demon that pops out 10 levels into the campaign or something.
Sure.
It's like you just keep track of every time they cast a healing spell.
Right. I would even, to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't even keep track of how many times they've used it. I would just have the demon pop out at a plot critical moment.
Sure.
Just to make it have the most impact possible, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, because if you were keeping track and you had a specific number in mind, and it if it were to pop out at an incredibly bad moment.
Yeah.
Because usually when you're casting healing spells, it's because someone's hurt.
Sure.
And if someone's hurt, it's because you're probably in combat and someone dying or something like that. So if a demon pops out during that moment, that's
Yeah. And
that can be really rough.
Not even because I know a lot of DMs are like yourself and myself, where it's like, oh, well, I don't want to make the game too unnecessarily hard. I don't want to spring a Baylor on the party members while they're all wounded.
Right.
Some DMs do, to be fair. But then again, similarly, those DMs probably wouldn't want this, 10 plus level buildup to occur while the party cleric volunteered to heal people at the temple that day. And now, yes, there is a big bad demon, but it's literally in the middle of a consecrated temple surrounded by high level clerics.
Sure.
That's not fun either, on the other end of the spectrum. So
demon breaks out and it's like really awkward situation.
Can I go back in there?
Is this a bad time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I like this. It's pretty cool. Unforeseen consequences and I don't know. It's a fairly powerful thing too. The +1 to healing is actually pretty decent.
So it's a big deal.
Yeah, because there is the is it cleric?
Life cleric.
Life cleric gets a +1 to all the healing spells, and then like that, and like I forget exactly how it works, but it works with Goodberry or whatever.
Oh, right.
It's I think it's because it's a first level spell or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, the life domain gives you, it's not just your I don't think it's just a +1. I think it's like you add your wisdom modifier or something.
Oh, sure.
Oh no, sorry, hold on. 2 plus the spell's level is what it actually is.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
But yeah, technically you could use that with Goodberry, which means each Goodberry would give 4 hit points instead of 1 hit point.
Right, and that's and I forget how many good berries you make. I think you make like 5 of them or something.
A bunch. I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, you make and so like that's a first level spell that gives you. I mean, that basically gives you several like healing potions. You know, because like a healing potion, you know, you're lucky that you'd be lucky if it gives you 4 hit points sometimes. You know.
Sure.
Because like you know you might roll really low, but if it's guaranteed to give you at least 4 hit points, then. I mean, heck, I'll take that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like so this on top of that, you know, you got a guaranteed 5 hit points that you can just give to somebody that somebody can just hang on to for the right moment.
Sure.
So it could be pretty powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whatever healing spells you're using, I mean, it's a small benefit per spell, but you're probably going to be casting a lot of healing spells over the course of a campaign.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, Jeff, like I could see this being given out at a fairly low level, maybe even like, oh, you finish your first quest, each character gets something, you know, unique to them, to their class. The cleric gets this amulet, and then you know, 10, 12, 15 levels later, then the DM springs it on them or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that'd be good a reward for like the first adventure where everybody's sort of just kind of like falling into the roles. Like, you know, maybe your thought as the DM was that the cleric was going to be the healer, but the druid actually stepped in and did most of the healing, so give him that. And, you know, so yeah, because it's not like it's not super duper overpowered, but it is like it's just a really nice thing to have because it just it bumps up your minimum healing.
Sure.
You know, by 1, which is always nice.
Yeah. I guess the potential downside of this is just that it requires a slow burn from the DM. It requires a long investment before the payoff. You've got to give it out a really long time ahead of time, and then you've got to plan out exactly when it's gonna do its thing. Because otherwise, if you give it to them and then like 5 encounters later, a demon pops out. It's a lot less interesting.
Yeah. Or I don't know, maybe you throw out an amulet, a different type of amulet that you were intending to have one of the other players use, but the healer decided, oh, you know what, I kind of like that one better. I'll just put this one in. You know, in emergencies, maybe I'll take it out.
Sure. So then it doesn't get used at all.
Right. Yeah. Because again, like, you know, at a certain point, +1 to healing, you know, might not be that big a deal. They might trade that out for something. Yeah,
they might find something that is better in most situations.
Although I think if that scenario happens, you maybe wait for that moment where they like, oh shit, we just need like 1 more point of healing or something. I don't know when that would exactly happen.
Sure,
but you know, maybe you like drop a like it's like they're in a really tough battle or something like that, and people are just taking, you know, damage left and right. You maybe you design an encounter that is heavy on damage, but not necessarily like, you know, super dangerous. Like, people are taking a lot of hit points, but like nobody's getting stunned, and like the enemy's far away, so they can't make a killing blow on you or anything like that. So you're just kind of like eating up all of their healing resources. So then the healer might be like, oh, you know what would be good for this right now? I should put that amulet on just to kind of get the little extra juice out of it. And that's when you hit them with it.
Sure.
Like the next time they would then use it, if they brought it out for that emergency or whatever, that's when you would hit them with it.
I guess a question that I would want to ask is, do you think there should be any indicator that there is more to this amulet than they might realize? should there be a point, even if it's something that happens after a while or requires a very high skill check or whatever, is there something that should clue the player in that there is something more to this game? Maybe they feel that they are getting healed for 2 additional points, but then they feel part of that gets siphoned away or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe there would be something. I'm trying to think maybe a like if a paladin was using divine sense at the same time that they were getting healed or something, they might be able to like get a twinge of something, but not, be able to pinpoint it and just think, oh, there might be somebody near, like a demon nearby. But
sure.
Or something along the I don't know if this makes sense, but like maybe like the person that is healed registers as a demon to certain senses or something, like but only for like an instant.
Yeah.
So it's like that one health that's getting taken away, that life force is being converted into demon or something, and while it's still inside them, and then it gets siphoned into the amulet. I don't know.
No, I mean I kind of like that. When this was posted on the Discord, I know that I think it might have been Dustin. Somebody said that they thought that it would be cool if while you were wearing this amulet, you registered as a demon. Which I like the idea of that. However, I think that could be a bit too obvious. Like that might be a bit too overt. So I feel like the trick would get figured out pretty quickly if that was the case.
I think because of like how early on a paladin can sense fiends,
Sure.
And somebody who's new to Paladin or new to the game, they're like, oh my gosh, I can find demons? Yeah, I'm going to use that all the time.
Yeah.
Like the healing is actually like converting the whole party into part demon or something. Ooh. Like it's sort of like turning their blood into demon blood.
I mean, I kind of like that.
It's like slowly tainting the party so that like, I don't know, maybe eventually they get to a temple or something, hollow ground or something, and they start all feeling sick.
I mean, these are all good ideas. I definitely like these. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this item. I think it's very simple, but it's that little twist that really makes it something cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, once again, that was the Amulet of Concordance submitted by Joe S via Discord. So thank you very much, Joe S. Jeff, if anybody else wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Horde, or if they wanted to submit questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre or retirement village, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com or join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And before we go any further, we do have a giveaway to give away today.
Woo!
As usual, we're giving away a copy of Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 1, courtesy of Crit Academy. So Unearthed Tips and Tricks is it's a great supplement that has a collection of 25 character concepts, encounter concepts, monster variants, magic items, player tips, and DM tips. 25 of each of those from the Crit Academy podcast. It's a great, great product. I helped them write it, and so I definitely know how good of a product this is. So we're giving away a copy of this. And Jeff, who is the winner of today's copy of this great supplement?
Today's winner is Michael T.
Winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes. Now, a few weeks ago, we had a Michael T, and I specified that was not the Michael T that I work with. This week it is.
Oh.
So, right. Michael T, you know who you are. You've been bugging me about this for months. You have finally won, not because you were bugging me about it, but because you were on the list and because your name came up. So
No. Everybody, you hear that? You just have to bug Gabe a whole lot.
I mean, eventually I guess as we run out of people, eventually, yes, you will win, even if you're bugging me, but
sure.
Correlation does not equal causation.
I don't know.
Anyway, so congratulations, Michael T. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. And be sure to leave a review. I will be sure to bug you about that in person to leave them a review on, DM's Guild, Drive-Thru RPG, whatever. Mm-hmm. Because the more reviews they have, the more visibility they get, and the more likely more people are to see this great product.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody should go check out Under Tips and Tricks Volume 2, which just came out a few months ago, and it is equally great. Possibly more great. I don't recall because I've read that one a lot more recently than Volume 1. So
sure.
That's the one that's fresh in my mind. So anyway, go check out both of those. Thank you to Crit Academy for facilitating this. Jeff, if anybody wanted to be like Michael T, minus the bugging Gabe part, if anybody else wanted to be like Michael T and win a copy of this great supplement, how would they do that?
They could send us an email at InterPartyConflict@gmail.com with unearthed tips and tricks in the subject line. And in the body, you can put things that would bug Gabe.
I mean, you're correct, but don't. Anyway, so again, thank you, Crit Academy. Thank you, Michael T, for entering. And good luck to everybody else who enters and will hopefully win in the near future.
Yeah.
And then next up, I want to thank all of our wonderful patrons for helping make the show happen. Patreon is an online platform where you can pledge to donate a certain amount of money per month to the creator of your choice. If you go to patreon.com/InterPartyConflict, we've got a few different reward tiers on there. We've got outtakes. We've got a monthly bonus podcast. We've got a monthly Roll20 game that we're going to be doing. I think the day this goes out is when we're going to be doing our next Roll20 game. I haven't gotten out any outtakes in a long time. So if you're listening to this, I would say warning, there's about to be a lot of outtakes, but it's probably already happened by the time this episode goes out. There hasn't been an outtake apocalypse, there will be an outtake apocalypse pretty soon. So, turn off notifications just for a little while. So we are very thankful to all of our wonderful patrons who have contributed to the show and who have continued to in the difficult times we're going through. Huge thank you to all of you guys and everybody else. If you want to help support the show and get some cool stuff in return, go to patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. Check out the rewards, see if anything appeals to you, and see if you want to support the show. All right, and then one more thing, just check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy, critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Brandon create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Brute Force and Ignorance is an actual play podcast on the network. Got some great guys over there, so go check out their show. Also check out D&D Character Lab. Garen and Dan made characters every week and pitted them against each other to debate whose characters were better. Enough of all that. Let's get into some questions.
Our first question comes from Colton S. on email, and they ask, in 5th edition D&D, is it possible to multiclass into the same class but different archetypes? If not, should it be possible?
Yeah, so for anybody who's not super familiar with 5th edition D&D, you've got a bunch of different classes. You've got your bard, your barbarian, you've got your fighter, your wizard, cleric, druid, paladin, ranger, monk, sorcerer, warlock. Did I say druid?
Dancer. I don't know.
Dancer. I probably missed one in there somewhere, but
sure.
Whatever the case. So you've got artificer, I guess, is another one I didn't mention. So you got all your base classes. Each base class has 20 levels worth of abilities and such. And then with every class, you gain some sort of a specialization, usually by 3rd level. Some of them get it at 1st level, some of them get it at 2nd level, but by 3rd level, I'm pretty sure every class has a specialization of some kind.
Right.
And in previous editions, what they would do for specializations was have like an entirely different class you would go into that maybe had requirements that you would meet from a previous class.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, you stay in the same class, and then you've got like each class has a certain number of little like side paths that they go on. And then those side paths or archetypes or the different specializations will give you a small set of abilities in addition to just the basic abilities for your class.
Yeah.
And the way that they will add additional character options in 5th edition, generally speaking, is to give more specializations. So that instead of being an arcane trickster rogue, now you can be a scout rogue. And then they might come out with, additional rogue archetypes or additional schools of magic for the wizard. So instead of being a transmuter or an abjurer, now you can be a blade singer. That's a wizard archetype. And so on and so on.
Yeah.
Whereas in previous editions, they would just make more classes that you could take.
Yeah, like in 3rd and 3.5, there was a large number of like base classes, and then there was like a ton of prestige classes you could take and things like that. So,
And so the side effect of how they're doing it now is back before you could multiclass all you wanted. If you're a sorcerer and you want to multiclass into you want to become, let's say you're a sorcerer and you want to become a dragon disciple. So you go and you take the dragon disciple prestige class. So you stop taking your sorcerer levels, you start taking dragon disciple levels, but then you want to multiclass into cleric and then also become a mystic theurge. Then you've got sorcerer levels, you've got dragon disciple levels, you've got cleric levels, you've got mystic theurge levels, you've got all the levels, every level you've got.
Yeah.
You could multiclass into however many specializations you wanted. The downside, of course, being that you won't get all of the abilities because you probably only have 20 levels worth at most to deal with, maybe more depending on your campaign. So it was very easy to multiclass between different specializations. In 5th edition, however, you can multiclass between fighter and cleric and sorcerer. You can multiclass between the base classes. However, it has been explicitly stated that it is not possible to multiclass in the same class. So if you start out as a champion fighter or a fighter that becomes a champion fighter, you cannot then also multiclass into fighter again and become an Eldritch Knight fighter. You can't be a champion and Eldritch Knight because both of those are different specializations of the same class. And you can't multiclass into the same class. So to answer the first part of the question, is it possible? The answer is no. Like by the rules, the sage advice, developers of the game have said, no, we do not intend for you to be able to multiclass into a different archetype of the same class.
Yeah. And I mean, like the amount of like characters I made that do multiclass, like I see the reason why. Like it's not like it'd be really hard to balance that out because like the abilities that you get at second or third level are abilities that kind of like carry through the whole class.
Yeah.
So like being able to have all three like core specializations of the fighter, that would be really powerful, and you'll be able to get it in in like what I guess 9 levels. Because you're getting I would assume you're getting the level 3, in each one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that wouldn't mesh well, and some stuff that would be a little bit too powerful if put together.
Yeah, I mean, I've never done this. I've never actually statted out a character that did. I've never tried to see how this would actually work, but the impression that I get from looking at what the abilities are. Either you would stack all of your class abilities. So let's say you're a fighter. At first level fighter, you get not really a ton, but at second level fighter, you get some really good stuff. You get action surge is a really good one. And you get second wind, I think is another fighter ability. So let's say you get to third level fighter. You've got your action surge. You've got your second wind. Then at third level, you take champion or whatever. If you then decide to multiclass into fighter again, do you get another action surge a day or per rest or whatever? Do you get another second wind? I feel like it's going to be either yes, you do, and therefore it's going to be very, very, very powerful because another action surge is extremely powerful, or you don't get the fighter stuff again, you just get the specialization stuff. But in that case, then you've got several levels worth of nothing.
Right.
So I feel like it's balancing too closely between being too powerful or way too weak.
One way I can see this maybe working is the way that they kind of show it in something like Xanathar's Guide, where instead of putting out the entire chart of the class, like just for the new specializations that they put out, they just put like a little mini chart where it's like at 4th level you get this, at 6th level you get this, and 12th and 14th or whatever. So like it helps to keep it easier form.
Sure.
But the idea is you could pick and choose. So like at 4th level you could get this you can get one ability from Scout instead as far as rogue specializations.
Okay.
So you can at 4th level I'll get the Scout feature, but then at 6th level I'll get the thief feature or whatever. I'm not sure I can't remember all of Rogue's ones. Or assassin. Like Assassin's got a pretty good, a couple good ones in there, but like Assassin's got some really good ones in there, but there's like one that's like, I don't really need that. Like it's like you're better at disguises or something. But if you're just going for like stealth assassination and not necessarily like, espionage and things like that, it's like, I'm not going to try to blend into a crowd. I'm going to blend into the shadows instead. I don't really need this thing that makes me better at disguising myself. Because I'm more attached to hiding. So you might be like, all right, well, instead of that ability, I'll take this other ability from a different specialization at that level. Or you could, I've seen this done in Pathfinder. There's like a sorcerer, or I think a sorcerer, you get like the bloodlines. Yeah. And then there's a way to get like, you can have 2 bloodlines, but then instead of, you don't get both abilities, you choose either or you can choose you can choose a previous ability from the other, the other bloodline, basically. Yeah. So like you get like, let's say you get it every 2 levels, every even level. So like at level 2, I might choose, option A. And at level 4, I'll choose option B. But then at level 6, I'll choose option A. I'll choose the level 4 of option A.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're picking a lower level one instead of a higher level one, but you're picking it from a different class. So maybe that could be a thing where it's like, as you level up in a specialization, like when you would get an ability from that archetype, you could choose the lower level version of a different archetype.
Sure. That sounds a lot actually like what they did in 4th edition with multiclassing. Mm-hmm. In 4th edition, you didn't multiclass in the same way you multiclassed in other versions of D&D or in Pathfinder. You stayed in the same class for 30 levels because, the classes were 30 levels in 4th edition. But the way that all classes worked is you were one class for all 30 levels. At level 10, you chose a specialization that you then had for the next 10 levels. It was called your Paragon Path. And then at level 20, you chose another specialization that you had until level 30. And most of them were class specific, but not all of them. When you would multi-class, you would take a feat that then let you at specific points, if I'm not mistaken, at specific points, the feat would let you take a class ability from the class you're multiclassing into for that level. So like, let's say it's like level 4 and then level 8 and then level 12 or something. You could choose to take the powers from your chosen multiclass instead of the ones from your class. But then also, when it came time to choose a specialization at level 10, you could choose a specialization from the other class. Mm-hmm. So it sounds kind of like what you're saying. And this is kind of what I would say. If you wanted to implement something like this in your game, I would probably do it something like this. Still keep your normal progression, but at a certain point, you choose one of the other abilities instead of that one. There should definitely be some kind of a cost because having the choice of a different ability is powerful in and of itself.
Right.
If you were to say, I'm going to make a 20th level character and at each level, I'm going to just pick whichever abilities I want from one given class at any level, that's going to be very powerful because some abilities aren't going to be useful to you if you're just the same class for 20 levels. Yeah. That's kind of by design. Some abilities are really good, some abilities are less good. So if you had the freedom to only choose the really good ones, that's going to make you a more powerful character in the end.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, would such a thing ruin a game? I don't know. Because a lot of the time, an ability that is quote unquote more powerful is only more powerful in certain situations. There might be abilities that are more situational, and if the dungeon master is giving you a variety of encounters, maybe they would end up balancing out in the end. I don't know. But I would want there to be some sort of a cost. I do think that if you were just like, at this level, I get to choose the ability from this other one instead, maybe that could work. I would need to actually test it out and see.
Yeah.
It very much seems to me like the choice to make it not possible was not, I don't think it was necessarily based on it is definitely too powerful. It is definitely too weak. To me, it feels like this is going to be a huge headache. So let's just say you can't do it.
Sure. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's just the way that the classes are structured. I don't think it works. So like with what you said at the beginning, like you're overlapping stuff, and like you obviously wouldn't get 2 action surges. Like that's ridiculous. Like things like that. Like there are some things that are obvious. Like yeah, you obviously wouldn't get that. But would you? So like I think it's just because of the way that they're structured. It does not work. It just doesn't work. Like. But I don't know, try, some version of it. I'm sure could be interesting. Could be fun. I don't know. Like, I'm sure there've been a few times where I've been like, man, I really wish I could get this one ability from this other specialization. Like, if I had, make like a character that's all multi-classed out and was, min-maxed to get a certain effect. And it's like, well, that effect would be so much better if I could dip into this other class, but I already have 3 levels of fighter or whatever. I can't do it again.
Sure.
So, there are definitely ways to make it way too powerful. Yeah. But for the most part, I think it just doesn't. They just don't work together like that. It just doesn't. It doesn't overlap well.
Sure. Yeah. Something would have to be changed fundamentally about how it works for it to be possible. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like, hey, if you want to try it out in your own game, as long as all the players are on an even playing field, if all of them are able to do that, it's worth trying. If you got to scale up or down the encounters, go for it. But
things like this, I always feel like one of the easiest ways to fix this, like if this is something like if you do have a player who just like really wants that one ability, but like because it just would really make his character that much more fun to him, put it in a magic item.
There you go.
If you feel like it would be too powerful, put it in a magic item, but make it slightly weaker. Dial back the numbers a bit, or make it so it can only be used so many times per day, or instead of like. A lot of class abilities go off of like a major stat or something like that. So it'd be like number of times per day equal to your charisma modifier, but instead make it once a day, no matter what. You can just do it once a long rest. Yeah. So like you can limit it, you can power it down a little bit, but if it's this cool ability that they at least get to use once every long rest, and they feel awesome doing it, that's a good idea.
Yeah. If a player really wants to do it, I do recommend looking into trying to find some way to get the player what they want. Maybe not in exactly the way that they want, but if a player is going to have more fun from having a particular ability, it's worth looking into. Don't necessarily just give it right to them, but everybody's there to have fun, so try to do it.
Somebody wanted to be a an evocation wizard, but they really like the what is it, portent or whatever from divination. It's like you give them this magic amulet that is shaped like a 20-sided die that lets them do once, instead of 2 dice, it's 1 die or something like that. It's like, yes, that's very powerful, but like here, but like you really wanted it, and here it is, but you only get 1 die a day instead of 2.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. That's really cool. Well, I think that'll do it for our regular questions for today. A little peek behind the curtain. It's a little hard to tell because there's going to be a lot that was cut out of this episode. So I'm not exactly sure on the timestamps. But anyway, next up we have our social media questions for this week. So our last social media question was, what is the biggest age range of people you've gamed with? So do you recall what your answer was?
I feel like my initial answer was, I'm not sure. I don't think I've played with anybody, but then I think you reminded me that like we played with like Justin and
Zave are both
and Zave, and I was like, I didn't even think of them because again, it was just like we were just playing D&D together. I was not thinking about the age difference. So yeah, like yep. That's I think that's I guess my answer.
I want to say because I'm embarrassed. I don't know exactly how old Zave was when he played with us, but I know that when I was just out of high school, I ran a game for some friends and like one of their like younger brothers or something. So I think he is probably the youngest person I have run a game for. And then of course the oldest person being Justin. Justin is who knows how old. Very, I guess.
Who can say? Yeah, who can say?
Who can say? So yeah,
that's his business.
Yeah, a pretty big range, I think. We didn't get a ton of responses for this, and that's fine. Over on Facebook, Eric B asked a clarifying question: physically or mentally?
Oh,
and then I said take your pick, but Eric B did not follow that up. So that was actually the only response we got on Facebook.
Okay.
Over on Reddit, we got a couple. Alstar the Minotaur says, I've had the opportunity to play with a 10-year-old in a group of late 20-somethings who is the son of a couple in the group. I've also played with a 60-year-old in another group of a similar demographic. Playing with the 10-year-old was interesting while sometimes difficult. He had a vivid imagination and it showed, but he was also difficult to play with at times because he was always doing 3 things at once and we would get easily distracted. Mm-hmm. Playing with the 60-year-old was awesome. It was her first time playing and was also my mom, so sharing that experience with her was wonderful. Because she had never played before, she needed some coaching, but she had unique perspectives and really interesting play styles that those of us so embedded into the rules never thought of. And yeah, that's definitely true. I feel like that is the different perspective is really what there is to gain from playing with someone much older or younger than yourself.
Right.
When we talked about this topic a couple of weeks ago, the person that prompted the whole discussion kept saying like, what possible interest could an adult have in a game run by a a child or a teenager? Mm-hmm. And the possible interest is a perspective that you will never, ever have again.
Right.
You will never have the perspective of someone that is 10 years younger than you, 20 years younger than you. Maybe you had that perspective one day, but you don't anymore.
Yeah. Why does an old guy want to play a game with a bunch of kids? I don't know. Ask them. They're a person.
There you go. Next up, Pruno says, my 4-year-old and grandma at 65 years old. She tried to keep up. The party was hired to kill a sea monster, turned out to be a submarine with gnome pirates. They kicked their butts and had a good 1-hour session. I think we had a question a long time ago about like how old, like how young is too young to play D&D, or like at what age is someone old enough to play D&D, I think.
Right.
And I think the answer we came to was like, once they're at the age where they can pay attention, where they can like stay focused,
yeah.
You know? If someone is able to stay focused, both, you know, with, I guess with Alstar the Minotaur's comment is that like, if you have a child, one of the difficulties is going to be the lack of focus.
Right.
But you know, yeah. if they can get that under control for a little while, there's usually something to be gained.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm fairly sure with kids, like, yeah, there is like a certain age where it's like, yeah, they're never going to be focused on one thing at a time.
Sure.
Like, it's just not going to happen. There's too many things going on and they're still, you know, figuring out the world, you know?
Yeah.
But like at a fairly young age, like if a kid gets interested enough in something, they're hooked to it, you know,
sure.
Like you can't draw them away from it. So like, you know, if the kid is interested, even if they're very young, but if they're really interested in it, you can get them to play.
Yeah. And I could be wrong, but I feel like if they're interested now, but they aren't able to focus, give them 6 months, give them a year, they'll probably be a lot better to focus and they'll still be interested.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like kids don't really lose interest in the long term. Like they might get, you know, they might lose interest in something like right now if it isn't exciting, but something that they like now, they're still going to like in 6 months, in a year or whatever.
Yeah.
Spoken as a person who does not have kids. So take it with a grain of salt,
right. Yeah, exactly. But I've been a kid and I still like, I don't know. What did I like as a kid?
Mighty Max.
I've been playing video games.
Yeah.
Like since the moment I had any sort of hand-eye coordination.
Sure.
Like, so.
One more reply on Facebook. Lord Maul Returns says, I played my first session that wasn't a solo session at a family reunion. The ages ranged from myself at age 12, the DM in his 40s, and everything in between. There were many different ideas brought to the table. Life experience changes the way you play the game, in some ways for the better, but you can always get set in your ways. I think that those who are young and or new to the game help keep things fresh. I still remember that 10-hour marathon session in vivid detail. And yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what perspective I'm coming from, is that like children are going to see things differently. Adults are going to see things differently. Everybody's viewpoint has some value to it.
Yeah.
There was a quote from Bill Nye the Science Guy, actually, where I think it was when he was doing an AMA on Reddit. He said something to the effect of, every single person you interact with knows something you don't. And like, if you can understand that, if you can accept that, it's a lot easier to see the value that a different perspective might have, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, we didn't get anybody on Twitter, actually. And over on Discord, we got a few on Discord. Dustin says, the youngest I've played with was probably 12. The oldest was 60 or older. Largest age range at once was 12 to late 30s at a game shop. And I guess I didn't specify whether I meant like at one session or not, but
sure.
Either answer is fine.
Yeah.
Floofy Shoob says 33-year gap between youngest and oldest. Stiltskin Koopo 84 says, in Jim's group, we had his son in his teens playing with his teen cousin, another person's son in his teens, me in my late 20s, 2 guys in their 50s, and 1 guy in his 60s. Jim's wife was in late 30s to early 40s and played only some of the time. I brought Anna, which I believe is his wife, another late 20s player in, who would become my wife. Sorry, I didn't need to editorialize there. Later on, Jim's next group was made up of me, my 2 sons from the earlier group, now fully adult with jobs, 3 of Jim's stepsons in their teens, their mother who was in their 40s or 50s, and some of the boys' girlfriends who showed up sometimes. We had other players in varying age categories, but those were the most extreme and consistent examples of player ages at the table. So there you go. That seems like a pretty big range at a consistent game.
Yeah.
Zadig69 says, like 17 to 40, but not in one game. So, and yeah, that's perfectly acceptable response. The Beverage Tea says, my current group has a 16-year-old. He's one of our players' sons and by far the most mature player at the table. The rest of us are securely in our 40s and can't get away from behaving like we were 13.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Estrella says, the biggest age range I played with was around 20 years, me and my dad. Potato Plunderer says, I'm currently playing the Lost Mines of Phandelver adventure with my family, the oldest being 50-ish and the youngest being 16. I'm 19. The youngest I ran for was my sister's friends at ages 12 to 13. I was probably 15 at the time, but it was my first ever session of D&D. I think it counts.
Man, sometimes I wish like my family would be remotely interested in something like D&D, but then yeah. I don't know. It would be entertaining maybe once.
Sure.
Yeah, like I think I would get a kick out of my, I don't know. My sisters can be a real hoot.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Okay.
They can be hilarious sometimes. Like they get on my nerves, obviously, but they can be hilarious, and I feel like if they were remotely interested in ever playing something like D&D, it could be entertaining.
Yeah. And then one more on Discord. Peace Joy Pancake says, my gaming group consists of only friends, so we're all literally within a year of each other. And I've only played with them, so very little age range there. I'm not generally opposed, just neither need nor opportunity has arisen yet. Actually, it just occurred to me that I'm a big fat liar, and this is not true at all. I've played with you guys before in a few Patreon games, back in the days when there were so few, us measly green tier patrons had a shot at getting in. So I guess you're the oldest people I have played with.
Oh, wait. Oh, that hurts.
Well, yeah. So my question is, how old do you think we are?
Yeah.
Which I guess I don't know how old Peace Joy Pancakes is, so I can't.
That's true.
I can't honestly take offense to that. So, so that was those were all the responses for that question. So thank you everybody who responded.
No, I'm legit curious how old people think we are. So, little mini social media question. How old do you think we are?
I feel like we've said our ages multiple times. That doesn't mean that everybody knows.
Right. Yeah. Without looking up, how old do you think Gabe and I are?
I kind of want to put that as the actual social media question, but I won't.
Yeah, well, just like, just as a bonus, if you throw it out there.
Sure. I will throw it out there at some point this week. I'll put it on the Discord.
Bonus points.
There you go. So our next social media question is, what is your favorite multi-class combo, or just one that you've played that you really liked? So, I've been trying to make these questions kind of inspired by the episode. So do you have a multi-class combo that you always really like? Do you like playing as a fighter cleric? Do you like playing as a rogue sorcerer fighter multi-class because you don't like bards or something? I don't know.
Right. It's really hard to get away from warlock and basically anything else.
Okay.
I mean, we've said that before. I mean, like, rogue is really good with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? This is going all the way back to, I feel like this is like second edition.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. It is fighter mage thief.
Okay. That's one of the old school.
Yeah.
One of the multi-classes that's like built in.
Right, yeah, because like the way that classing worked in the earlier editions, like certain races, only certain races had access to certain multi-classes, and like one of them I think I don't know if it was, maybe it was half elves or something could do like fighter thief mage or something like that, which I was just like, that's the best. That's all the good stuff. Like, you're a fighter, you can do roguey stuff, and you can cast spells. Like, what's not to like?
Yeah. Okay. I would say I haven't really multi-classed much in a long time. But thinking back to back when we were all still learning 3rd edition back a long time ago. I feel like I had actually no, scrap all that. I do have one character that I played a multi-class that I really, really, really enjoyed. And that was a multi-class barbarian warlock.
Ooh.
And the character was a titan. Or at least I was trying to give him abilities that made him like he was a titan. He was a titan that had lost most of his power and was slowly gaining it back up. And so he had warlock abilities. Warlock and barbarian abilities. He was slowly building, putting together.
Yeah, I think you told me about this character before. Sounds sort of familiar.
I was gonna say, back when before I made my character of Ichi, I was trying to come up with how to make a samurai in 3rd edition, and of course, this was not an actual samurai, but what my 16-year-old mind thought a samurai was.
Right. Yeah.
And the solution I came up with was basically a barbarian monk multi-class.
That sounds legit. That sounds fun.
Yeah. So when I eventually made Ichi as a straight barbarian, I did sort of borrow some stuff from the idea of him also being a monk.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm interested in seeing what some of our listeners have seen. I know not everybody multi-classes, but I feel like a lot of people do. So yeah. I'm expecting to hear a lot of paladin warlocks, but that's fine.
Paladin warlocks or sorcerer warlocks is a really good combo.
Or warlocks and warlocks for people who have already listened to this episode.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm going to take 2 levels of warlock, and 3 levels of warlock.
There you go. All right, so that'll do it for our questions for this week. So before we close out, we're going to wind down a little bit. However, twilight has fallen. The beasts have been slain. The townspeople have been saved. Your job is done. It's time to set your armor down in the retirement village. That was actually an intro that was written by Dustin. He emailed that to us a long time ago. Back when we first came up with the idea for the retirement village.
Right.
So, yeah. So thank you, Dustin, for that. I may use that in future retirement village submissions. I may not. Mm-hmm. We actually haven't had a retirement village in a while because, unless I'm mistaken, we haven't gotten any more retirement village submissions. Like we got one that I mistook for a funeral pyre, and so we used it as a funeral pyre. And today we're actually using one that was submitted as a funeral pyre, and I'm using it as a retirement village. So, so submit some more retirement villages, I guess.
I mean, I guess not a lot of adventurers survive that long.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Or we got through all of the ones that survived before we came up with this segment.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. So this was submitted by Potato Plunderer via Discord. And again, when the first sentence comes up, remember that this was submitted as a funeral pyre. Here's a funeral pyre for you guys. Rolf Alistar was a homebrew dragon knight my DM converted into 2nd edition stats for my first ever D&D character a while back. He had a baby dragon companion named Douglas, but he wanted something more. You see, everyone at the table had what the players called, and this is in quotes, a girlfriend, a secondary character that aided them in combat. Because I was new to the table, I didn't have said, quote-unquote, girlfriend. However, later in the campaign, we met a woman in a dungeon calling out for help. Thinking an act of kindness might blossom into a future adventuring partner, I freed her from her chains, only for her to embed her vampiric fangs into my neck. We never continued that campaign, so Rolf Alistar may as well be some vampire's thrall.
So he retired to be a vampire.
There you go. So I guess let's raise a glass in memory of Rolf Alistar, who is somewhere out there drinking. Oh, what is that?
Oh,
Clink. All right, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the funeral pyre or retirement village, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. You can join the discussion on social media. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict. We're on Reddit. We are on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord. We're on Twitter at InPartyConflict. We post social media questions every week, so if you answer those, your answers might end up on the show. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where you can check out videos of us playing video games.
Yes, awesome. And speaking of video games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories Podcast. If you want to submit anything for it, send it to arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time.
Actually, let's take another level of Warlock just to be sure.